I was born in a place in Mississippi called Clarksdale, Mississippi. That's 60 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee. And my parents lived on a place called King and Anderson. That was, they were farmers. They called it was sharecroppers. My daddy was a chauffeur for the owner of the place. And my mother, she didn't do nothing but take care of the house. But after my father got sick and died, he had pneumonia, then he passed away. Then he had 12 kids, and my mother had 5 of us. So I asked my mother what she wanted to do. So she said, well, she's going to move back home. So we moved back with my grandfather. I used to come to Chicago every summer. Stay a couple of weeks, then I go back to school. So but when I finished high school and come to Chicago that year, my brother, was here, and I went out there to visit him on his job. And the man offered me a job. So I wanted to know how much it's paid. But I had it better in Mississippi. During this time, that a whole lot of the Negroes was in more bad shape in Chicago than I was in Mississippi.
How old were you when you went into the service?
20.
And did you enlist?
No, they drafted me. Right out of school, they drafted me. And they sent me to Aberdeen, Maryland. Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, which was ordnance school. Took my 8 weeks training there. Then I went to school there for 8 weeks. And I stayed there about 2 weeks. Then I got orders to FECON. That's what it's called, career then FECON. Everybody was going into the service then was going to Korea.
Gotcha.
Everybody that drafted in went to Korea. Was driving truck. I was in the truck, I did a whole lamb and stuff, which kept me on the go always. Every time outfit had to move, they needed help. Then they was all trucks would go help move, all that kind of stuff. So it kept me on the go. And that was the biggest of my thing. I stayed on the go, and I had an assistant driver. So after my time was up, you had to get 36 points, which now is going to be, if you went in if you didn't come back zone, you'd get 4 points a month. If you wasn't in the comeback zone, then you get from 3, 2, or something. All this was in Korea. Yep, but I got them 4 points. Got the 4 points every month, and then about 9 months I had my time to come home, but there wasn't no rotation in. No. So I went to Korea in June. So that year, in June that year. And after I had to stay till they were doing replacements. And after they signed the peace treaty, then that's when you got rotation because there was no replacements. So you had to stay in Korea, so you got to replace somebody to replace it. So that's how I had ended up staying with about 15 months.
Instead of 9.
Over my time, 15 months instead of 9, yeah. Until the Korean War, you didn't hear that much about Korea or nothing. That's what was a whole lot of it had to do with it.
Yeah.
But the Korean War was a killer little.
How cold was it?
It get 30-some degrees below zero. See, but you always, when you're like that, you always sleep in tents. The bunkers, you build your bunker. Then you have cameras, top all you guys are sleeping, you put your tent up. Then you spot, then you put your tent up, you drain where the water run off it, and you have to take care of yourself. Anyway, but the experience I had with this honor flight thing in D.C., it's a whole lot that was not there in Washington, D.C.
So you went to the Korean Memorial,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't built when you
That
when
was
you were in
a
Aberdeen.
whole lot of stuff
What
wasn't
did you
there.
think of the memorial?
Something else. Something else. I think it's a whole lot of it wasn't there. And I was back up there last year with the veteran. Lord, I couldn't. It was out in a wheelchair because I had a guy push me push me from Chicago to D.C. And man pushed me everywhere. I rode the wheelchair the whole while.
He was your chauffeur, just like your dad used to be a chauffeur.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's just an experience, but it was nothing like it. Though. My son, he's Morris Allen Sr., he's the oldest. I got a daughter, that's Morris, and a daughter named Janelle. So he always, he's a little, let me see, how could you put it? He was nosy sometimes. He want to know how is this and how is this. I used to sit up and tell him, about cookery and stuff and all of this. And then I had a lot of the guys got messed up in Korea that I went to school with. Yeah, a whole lot of them, just about all of them, but they deceased now. Seen them looked all, some of them had half a head and no legs. Oh. And I used to tell them about it all, tell them about the guys that got messed up. And they want to know why did I never was in that action, but I tell them I always would be just left. All the damage was there. Guys, we just went through it. Yeah.
Morris Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
what have you learned from Dad?
Well, first, let me clarify something. There is an older brother that we have, okay? All right, his name is Bruce, all right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, just want to make sure we got that. I have learned an immense amount of information from my father, not only as it relates to the war and what happened in Korea, but just his travels. And it's funny because we do a lot of traveling, but for Dad, he's like, well, no, I've been there. I don't need to go there. No problem, not a problem. But it's just been a great experience to have my father around. He'll be 89 later on this month. Sunday, as a matter of fact, right. And so there's a lot of love there. I can just say that definitely. And a lot of experience that he has provided us with over the years. So it's just been a blessing.